Welcome back to more tough questions about addiction. My name is Joe Herzanek. Today's topic or tough question is, what do I do if my loved one relapses back to using? A better question might be, what do I do when? Because typically relapse is just a part of recovery. As much as we hate to see it happen, we shouldn't be really shocked by it. So let me give you a definition of relapse. And I'll use maybe myself for an example. I went to a treatment program outside of Kansas City. I got involved in recovery groups out of treatment. I was going to 12-step groups. I was going to church. I was doing a bunch of things to maintain my sobriety. But after about 5 months, I was feeling pretty good. I went out with a friend. We went to a bar, and I don't really recall exactly how it happened, but I decided that I would have a couple of drinks, and that couple turned into 6 or 8. And in my case, I felt pretty bad about that. I did not like losing my sobriety date, so to speak. I had 5 months of sobriety. I knew I'd made a mistake. I knew that it wasn't going to work again. So in my case, I'm very fortunate. I got immediately right back involved with my recovery work, and that's been many, many years ago. But one definition for addiction is a chronic relapsing disease. So that's one of the signs when people think about recovery, think about quitting their substance use, whether it's alcohol or Percocet or Xanax or you name it, whatever it might be. Typically they will make some attempts at sobriety, won't go well, and they'll just sort of this back and forth of trying to quit. But at some point, a person will actually get serious about recovery. And even though they've gotten serious about their recovery, still oftentimes will make that foolish choice to sort of go out and test the water one more time. So how does this happen? Why does this happen? Last night, my wife and I watched a great video called Bill W. It came out in 2012. And it's the history of Alcoholics Anonymous and Bill Wilson. And one of the men that was interviewed in this video talked about relapse. And this is what he said. He said, sometimes people will be doing very well in recovery. They will have months, sometimes maybe even be counting their recovery in years. And they'll get the idea or their thought that maybe they could have just a couple of drinks and it would be okay. Or a couple of puffs or a couple of Percocets or whatever it might be, and it'll be okay. And he said something, after all the years that I've been involved in recovery, he said something that I hadn't heard before. And he explained it like this, and I agree, it's a fabulous explanation. What he said was, the person will start to think that a couple of drinks, well, I'm going to use alcohol for our example today. It's the biggest used and abused drug there is. Have a couple of drinks and it'll be okay. And here's what happens. This is what he said. He said, the person that says, I think I can have a couple of drinks and it will be okay, will have that first drink, and then that person becomes a different person. That first drink now has changed everything. And it's no longer just a couple of drinks. It goes into a lot more. So it's a foolish choice. Many people do it. Pretty normal, not the end of the world. So what's a family member to do? What I would suggest is just encourage this person to get right back involved with whatever they were doing to maintain their sobriety. And you must do something to maintain sobriety. If the person is not active in their recovery, I'm going to say that they're sort of waiting for a relapse, because addiction left untreated will win out over just self-will. So they need to be involved in some support groups, 12-step groups, active in their church, celebrate recovery. Those kind of things are going to be the tools and resources that help a person maintain their sobriety. So if they weren't doing that, or if they were doing that and made that foolish choice, as a family member, you just want to encourage them to get right back involved in recovery. What I tell people all the time is if they will make their recovery from their use the most important thing in their world, at least for the first 6 or 12 months, things are going to go really well. If they don't do that, sadly, people will often think that they can maybe perhaps give it another try. A lot of times families will just sort of freak out and go way overboard with their thoughts about the relapse. Now, again, addiction is a chronic relapsing disease. Even though you may have spent a small fortune for this person to go to a treatment program and they've made multiple attempts and they still want to test the water, again, my suggestion is just to encourage this person to get right back involved with whatever they were doing to maintain their sobriety, or if they weren't doing anything to maintain their sobriety, this would be a really good time to talk about getting involved in some recovery support groups. So recovery or relapse is a natural part of this process. This change in lifestyle, if a person has been actively using for many years, maybe a few decades, the whole change process is just that. It's a process. It's not an event. There's no quick fix. So don't freak out. Say that you just love them, you care about them, you want the best for them, and you want to encourage them to get right back involved in whatever they were doing to maintain their sobriety. And for the family members, also, it's important that you get a little bit of support, some involvement with Celebrate Recovery or Al-Anon or something like that, so that you don't feel all alone, like you're the only one. Not that you have to go to a lot or for a long time, but you need a little support to help your loved one in their journey of recovery. So thanks for tuning in. You can always contact us through Changing Lives Foundation, our Facebook pages. We've archived a lot of these particular videos on these different topics. We're going to stick with Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Every Thursday night we're going to come up with a new topic, a new question, and we're going to answer that. But again, reach out to us through our websites or post on Facebook. We'll be happy to reach out to you. So thanks for tuning in, and we're going to say goodbye for now.